Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Mexican Grand Prix today. We're in Mexico City, the capital of the Central American country. First event of the Kenco Formula 1 2021 Championship. What a qualifying it was, what a race it will be. Mexico here has the world's largest Spanish-speaking population and is located in North America, just below the United States. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez is located at an altitude of 7,350 feet. That is the highest altitude on the circuit, so we could see some engine differentials coming into play. Well, what about the track then? It's 4.3 kilometers, 2.674 miles here of Mexican Row. We got 3 DRS zones, one down the main straight, one from turns 3 to 4, and another from 11 to 12. It's 17 turns with 7 to the left, 10 to the right, a race lap record of 1 minute and 18 seconds round here, set by Valtteri Bottas back in 2017. Back in 2017, we also see Vettel, Verstappen, and Hamilton realizing why 3 doesn't go into 1. Here at 4 and 5, we have Bottas and Raikkonen going against each other. Bottas locking up a little bit in that Williams, going round the outside and just understeers into the rear wheel of Kimi Raikkonen, losing that through the double apex hairpin. It's the soft, medium and hard compounds. This week, the 3 middle compounds, with soft being the fastest, medium about a second slower, and 1.5 for the hards. It's the C4 for the soft, the C3 for the mediums, the C2 for the hards. Looking at the grid then, after that incredible qualifying, one of the best I think I've ever witnessed, Kevin O'Mara stuck it on pole in the wet conditions, a 124.2 for him, with Joel Foxall joining him in P2. P3, Max Chapman, the man who normally sticks it on pole in that brand new Mercedes car for this year, he's P3. Dylan Hartley joins him alongside him. Jay Robinson, Dylan Hartley's old teammate, in P5. P6 is starting Bottaswagen behind him. In the slot directly behind him, it's his teammate Hargreaves. Torben Schut is in P7, and it's a McLaren lockout for the 5th row on the grid. Middelfeld and Hanmore line up in P11 and P12 with a free tyre choice today in the dry conditions. Rafael lines up in that new Haas car, P13 for him. P14 is the AlphaTauri of James Wilson. Alberto Modenese, his first qualifying in Kenco F1, went pretty decently, getting into Q2 but being last in the session. P16, Adam Forbes not making it into the qualifying 2 session, with Tyler Hume and Matthew Widdowson behind him. Lining up on the 9th row of the grid, on the back of the grid, it's Matthew McCall and Andre Abreu, who failed to qualify this session. Well, Sam, what an absolutely incredible qualifying it was back on Friday evening, and I'm just so excited for today. I can't my As I was saying, Sam, I just can't contain my excitement for today.
Nor can I. It's going to be a great race. Lots of action in qualifying, and hopefully that will transfer over into the race. We've got Kevin O'Mara, his first pole position in Kenco F1, starting the race, one of the longest runs to turn 1. What could happen today? Who knows?
He's really firing up those tyres in Sector 1. Is it all going to be about tyre warming and heat on this lap? Obviously, they don't have the energy from the ERS system just yet, so they've got to get that into the tyres somehow, haven't they?
Oh yeah, undoubtedly on the first lap, it's going to be who gets the tyres up to temperature first, and it's going to be so important for Kevin as well. He's not going to have the slipstream going into turn 1, so essentially it's advantage Joel for being in P2. He's going to have the slipstream all the way down to turn 1, but Kevin won't have that, so he needs his tyres in the optimum condition.
The predicted pit stop strategy today, both of them suggesting a 2-stop race, so it was soft, medium, or soft, medium. What can you expect to see today? All of the top 10 starting on the soft tyres.
Well, yeah, who knows? It's going to be massive for strategy. We've got 2 Ferraris in the top 10, as well as 2 Red Bulls in the top 10. So strategy could go either way for the 2 front runners. They can really use their teammates today. Joel is going to really want this win. He's only P2. It's so close for him today.
This is Kevin's first ever time starting off the front row, and you can tell, look at how much he hasn't backed that formation lap up. He's just on his own out there through turn 17. Is that going to be bad for him? Is he going to be sat on the grid for absolutely ages?
Yeah, he's going to be sat on that grid for quite a while, with Andre Abreu in P20 only starting now to come through the stadium section. So he's going to be on the grid for a while. Those brakes are going to be getting incredibly warm.
Well, I mean, that's not what you want for the start. We saw that on the restart at Baku in real life. There's the predicted pit stop strategy once again. Both of them, two-stop strategy, soft, soft, medium, soft, soft, hard. The final drivers approach the grid for the start of the Grand Prix. What is going to happen today? We don't know, because it's the first race of the Kenco F1 2021 season. We see them ready on the grid. We see the lights for the first time this season. There's already a yellow flag on the track. The drivers are getting ready to go, and it's lights out, and away we go here in Mexico. Off the line gets Joel really, really quick down the inside. Max Chapman got an incredible start. He goes down the inside. Kevin is using all of the ERS. Both of the drivers darting right to the inside into turn one. It is Joel from Max, from Kevin, from Dylan. There's a little bit of contact there at the back between Stein, and there's a huge bit of it oversteer there from Joel Foxhall, but he leads through turn three. One of the McLarens has been hit. I think that may be Ben O'Mara by... Sorry, that may be Ben Mitchell by Kevin O'Mara, and it's a huge pile-up through turn two. That's Ian, Reggie J. Hargreaves, and Jay Robinson all caught up in a turn two incident.
Max and Joel still fighting all the way. Max so close to the back of the Ferrari at the moment. This is the dream start for Joel, though, getting into P1, using that slipstream all the way down. But Max Chapman is still on his tail all the way through the first lap.
We'll have a look more at this battle as they go through turns 10 and 11 now. Track limits updated for that this weekend. The drivers cannot go over the green stuff, but this is incredibly tight on this opening lap, and that collision in turn 2.
Yeah, massive. And Jay Robinson down into P20, losing 15 positions on his opening lap. Not good news for the pole sitter. His teammate all the way down in plumb last. Not good at all.
That's crazy, but Stein got an absolutely bolting start. He started in P5, made it up to P4 already.
Yeah, is Max already going to make the move on Joel going into turn one? He's got the slipstream, no DRS yet, but that Mercedes looking absolutely rapid on the straights.
Rafal's into the pit lane and already has a 5-second time penalty alongside the AlphaTauri driver of James Wilson. He, by the stewards, has deemed to make an illegal overtake outside the track and therefore has a 5-second time penalty.
Yeah, Rafael onto those mediums, replacing that front wing as well. So he must have had some contact on that first lap. Alfa Romeo in the pits as well. Believe that is Reggie J. Hargreaves.
Max had a run down there on Joel. Just an incredible start from him. Dylan's had a pretty decent start, getting himself out of that action in turn 2. We saw in the replay, Max Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton, they went 3 into 1. And that's quite literally 3 into turn 1. And it just doesn't work. We saw that on the first lap as well with the rear of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. It did not work for them at all, but we can see that Kevin O'Mara really falling and struggling down the grid. He started on pole, already down to P5, so not the start he would have wanted, but Max still within half a second of Joel. So when that DRS becomes alive, is this going to be a super easy overtake for him?
There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. Is that one of the back markers possibly spinning? Yes, it's Reggie J. Hargreaves, one of the Alfa Romeo drivers who was really quick in qualifying. He's had a spin in Sector 1. The track is now green, but that's not great for his tyres. That's a flat spot on those brand new hard tyres.
Max is very close to the back of Joel, but not the start that Alfa Romeo would have wanted either. Going into turn 1, they're getting so close, but I think Max is still a bit too far back.
I mean, look at that ERS on his steering wheel. We're on board with Max. He's got 44% left already after the third lap. That's ridiculous. He's used all of his ERS to try and catch up to Joel.
Yeah, exactly, and that DRS very shortly will be coming alive, so it's going to be incredibly hard for Joel to defend, and even now without the DRS, Max is getting so close. He's got so much pace in that Mercedes.
He's just staying behind and harvesting all of that energy, but Dylan Harley doesn't have that benefit. He's got the clean air in front of him, but he doesn't have a toe that Stein Botterweg has behind him.
Yeah, absolutely right. Dylan not at the moment be able to keep up with the pace of the two front runners, but that may come back to him. He may be just doing some tyre management at the moment.
Now, you talk about tyre management. Is that what is really going to give people advantages around here? We talked about the ERS, how it's not very useful because obviously you run out of it so quickly. And then also all of the engines are the same here in Kenco F1. So is it all about tyre management?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to get those tyres all the way to the end, and it's all about how long you go on this. The set of tyres can really make the difference, but Max is just so close to the back of Joe, and now he will have DRS down this straight.
We're on board with Archie Middlefeld and Josh O'Mara, who's tried to defend from Archie Middlefeld, gone off the track and almost got into his teammate Ben Mitchell there. Both the McLarens getting super scrappy, and an amazing move there by Archie Middlefeld in the final sector.
And Max is through on Joel.
Oh my goodness, where did that happen?
It happened very quickly. Jay Robinson out.
Why is that? Has he gone into the wall? We're looking here through turn 11. That is Jay Robinson's body in turn 11 wall. Maybe trying to stick to the track limits and just losing the rear. We're on board with James Wilson. See if we can see that through here. James is going to have to lift. Yeah, there he is on the exit there,
Yeah.
on the exit of turn 11. Maybe that actually looks like the car's intact, so maybe that's an engine failure for Jay Robinson in the first race.
Yeah, that's really, really unfortunate. Not the engine reliability he would want at all. But yeah, that's no safety car for that incident, luckily for the front runners. But they're really storming ahead now. Obviously, Max now in that free air, and he's already half a tenth ahead of Joel.
I mean, Joel looks to have incredible pace to keep up with Max. We saw this last year, that Max was pretty much, once he got into the lead, nobody could catch him. But Joel is sticking with him by at least 5/10 here through the final sector. He's got a pretty decent run, staying off those apexes. Just not clean enough for Joel.
Yeah, exactly. I think Joel can just sort of stick behind this Mercedes with that DRS. He'll be able to almost drag himself along behind Max at the moment. It'll be incredibly frustrating for him, but it's going to be the fastest way through this race.
Max is setting fastest sector after fastest sector after fastest sector, and that's accounted to a 1:21 lap here, which is actually the fastest one so far. The DRS is enabled. Stein Botterwegs making a move round the outside of Dylan Hartley. The Ferrari looks to go round the outside as well, but he closes the gate there of Dylan. Dylan is right on the tail.
Oh, there's a crash!
There's a huge crash. Where is that? Oh, Joel and Max. Joel and Max have had a huge crash. That will no doubt be investigated by the stewards, but Stein is into the lead just as he got past Dylan. That shows how crucial that overtake was.
I'm not sure what happened there, but I think Joel got incredibly close to the back of Max. So much pace gained in one corner, and he went straight into the rear of that Mercedes. Now P4 and P6.
Having a look at Max. Does Max have any damage? Side pod, rear wing, diffuser, any of the sort? It doesn't look like that is the case. Joel doesn't have any either. So both the drivers coming out unscathed. Maybe just a banging of wheels.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't look like any damage at the moment, but as you say, there's this new addition to this game, side pod damage, which is incredibly difficult for these drivers to manage.
Now, just in the space of 2 corners, the lead has gone from Joel Foxhall behind Max Chapman to Stein Botterweg leading from Dylan Hartley, and Torben Schutt, the other Ferrari, without a great start, has managed to get himself all the way back up into the podium positions. I mean, there's only 5 laps gone so far, and it looks like Andre Abreu may have had a spin through the middle sector. He's got Adam Forbes and Matthew McCall. They've gone past him, but I'm not too sure what's happened with Andre.
Yeah, this is absolutely massive for Torben Schutt. Gained 4 positions so far in the race, and going into turn 1, incredibly close to the back of Dylan Hartley. Stein is under so much pressure from both the Alpine and the Ferrari. He obviously won't have that DRS.
Yeah, I mean, that's what made it so useful for the Alfa Romeo driver, getting past him on that straight, using the DRS. He's gaining on him. Dylan Hartley's going to have to be late on the brakes, but doesn't trust the car beneath him. He just wants to stay behind for a few laps. So, I mean, everything's on the line right now. This could be the winning overtake if he gets past.
Yeah, absolutely right. Joel has dived into the pit lane on a fresh set of medium tyres, so he's thinking about the long-term strategy after that mistake with him and Max.
Perhaps some damage then actually to the front wing if he had to come in and replace it, or was it just a routine pit stop?
I believe it was just a routine pit stop from what I saw.
I mean, down here in Sector 3, this is where the collision would have probably led to some debris on the ground. It doesn't look like there is anything, so good news for Ferrari, good news for Max Chapman.
Yeah, absolutely right. I didn't quite catch that incident between the both of them, but it looked very messy. Like, Max was round, Joel could not get out of the way of the Mercedes, so I'm not sure if it was a mistake from Max.
I mean, if you look to the rear of the grid, Ian Hanmore, James Wilson, and Reggie J. Hargreaves, all 3 of them were involved in that lap 1 collision, and just look at how far behind they are now because of that. Just shows how crucial keeping out of incidents and having a great start is, not only in F1, but in this league particularly.
Absolutely right. And talking of good starts, Dylan Hartley back up into the lead for the first time of this race, but Stein is incredibly close to the back of him round turn 4. Round the outside, he tries to go. Dylan very much shuts that door, but he's through the inside of that corner. 3 wide almost between the Ferrari, the Alpine, and the Alfa Romeo, and he's back in front is Stein.
Well, Kevin O'Mara's just gone over the green there. That will be investigated by the stewards and no doubt will result in a warning for him going outside of the track limits there. We're on board with Kevin, who can see all 4 of these drivers battling in front. This is a 4-way battle for the lead.
This is absolutely massive. Oh my god, there's so much action at the front of the field today. They're all wanting this lead, and it's only lap 7.
Another yellow flag in Sector 2. That could be a collision between 2 of the drivers because it's in 2 sectors. Stein not getting a really good entrance. This is going to benefit massively. Kevin O'Mara, who goes down the inside, and Max Chapman. There's a collision.
Wow.
Matthew M is out of the race. Max Chapman has been let pass by Kevin O'Mara, who decided that was probably a bit too aggressive. Might have got a penalty if he didn't give it back to him. but that was massive for Dylan Hartley, who might have a run now down towards turn 1. He protects the inside. Stein weaving all over the place. Dylan Hartley late on the brakes, even later on the brakes. It's Torben Schutt, there's the yellow flag. Whoever's in front by the start of this corner will be in front of the race, and it is Dylan Hartley. There is Matthew McCall. All these drivers are going to have to exercise extreme caution as he's right on the apex.
Yeah, absolutely right. And all three of them have DRS from that absolute mess. All three of them still have DRS, but Torben Schutt going around the outside once again into this complex of corners. They get so close between the Alpine and the Ferrari, still battling side by side, but it looks like Torben Schutt's got it done this time.
Yeah, Torben Schutt, an incredible move down the inside, but Dylan and Stein are going to be right on the rear, and Max Chapman back here, not even battling. He's going to be saving his tyres and laughing, knowing that he can just breeze past them down the straights.
Yeah, absolutely right. A little mistake there from Max, though, going a bit wide.
Stein's round. That's Stein, probably out the race. That's a front wing. Max Chapman has left the session, but Stein all the way around. Their front wing missing. That is absolutely massive. He could have been the one to win this race. He has now probably ruined his chance for the first start. And Alberto Modenese is also out the race.
Alberto's retired coming out of turn 3, so I'm not sure what's happened there, riding on board with...
It's a safety car.
My God, so much action.
Max and Kevin both have... Max has... Oh, and Kevin's into the wall. Kevin's into the wall. And I'm not too sure what's happened there. Kevin has just driven into the wall in turn 17. And Stein's got a 5-second time penalty. What is going on?
And Charlie's dived into the pits but got onto a set of soft tyres.
What is going on? This safety car could change the entire dynamic of the race and basically relieves Stein of anything he's just lost. James Wilson has a drive-through penalty for a speeding under the safety car violation. We have 3 DNFs, a drive-through, 3 5-second time penalties, and multiple drivers with lost parts. Do not go anywhere, because this is crazy.
This is incredible. Torben Schutt coming out of the pit lane, going onto those fresh set of tyres, only in P3. Kevin and Josh ahead of him haven't even pit. This is incredible for him.
What's happened to Joel? Did he pit the lap before? Because he's on the medium tyres.
This is such bad news for Joe. If he had waited a few more laps, he would have been able to pit under the safety car. So he is the biggest loser because he had to pit under the safety car under full racing speed, whereas his teammate did not.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to actually disagree with you. The biggest loser here is Kevin O'Mara. He has 5-second time penalty, and everybody's going to back up right behind him. So as soon as they get past, if he's leading at the end of the race, they have no reason to try and pass him. They can just stay behind.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Josh as well is still yet to pit, I believe. So both them up in P1 and P2. It's going to be incredibly hard now because everyone else around them has pit under this safety car and has lost so much less time than they will lose.
We've seen that in this strategy, it's probably going to be a 2-stopper today. Do you think that Kevin and Josh are going to try and stick it out under the safety car, probably go onto the hards and go 20 laps?
That is a potential for them both, of course. No doubt that's a discussion within the team at the moment, but that's a long way to go on that. They're both on soft tyres. That's a long way to go on those soft tyres.
I mean, Torben Schutt has made an incredible gain, and both of them do come
Kevin's in the pits. They're both in the pit.
Yeah, both of them into the pits. So, Kevin's got another 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. This is not good for the Red Bull driver starting on pole today. Stein still has the 5-second time penalty, and also the 3 places lost because of that wing replacement. But Torben Schutt and Dylan Hartley really benefiting from the end of this race.
Absolutely right, and they're both on those soft tyres, so on the restart they're going to have incredible pace as well as Max as well.
I mean, this could go any which way. Where do you see this going? Because if you cast your mind back to last year, Torben Schutt in the red car, at the end of the restart of the red flag, he was the one who came out victorious after Max made a mistake in the final sector and just caused everything to go haywire. Is it Torben Schutt that you think's going to happen? Is it Torben Schutt that you think's going to have the advantage going into the end of this race?
Really don't know. Max is in P3 on soft tyres, Dylan P2 soft tyres, and Torben Schutt in P1 on soft tyres. We saw the pace that Max had in clean air against Joel. I mean, it's obvious that he's probably one of the fastest guys out there, but still, he's got to get past 2 cars now, and he found that a bit challenging with Joel. He's just got to get the DRS on the main straight.
We've seen some collisions through turn 2, and that was actually the reason for the safety car through through sector 2. Where the drivers are now. Do they have to watch out for debris on the track? Do they need to try and keep out the way, or is that something that the teams will try and just let them ignore?
It's obviously something on their mind, of course. The teams will be feeding them as much information as possible on that, just trying to assist the drivers as much as they possibly can. But I'm hearing from Ferrari, they're reporting with the Joel and Max incident that Max had in fact spun coming out of turn 3, I believe, and Joel could just not avoid it. So if Joel has picked up some damage because of that, that is incredibly unfortunate.
We've had some notices from race control that car 15, Joel Foxall, car 21, Max Chapman, under investigation for the lap 5 incident between them in the turn 3 to 4 straight. So that could be something that you might want to watch out for, guys. Also, first lap incident between car 12, 74 and car 34. No investigation necessary for those 3 in turn 2.
Yeah, this is big for Max. Obviously, if that was his completely his mistake and there was no contact from Joel, then there could be a penalty coming his way from the stewards. Obviously, they'll be investigating that after the race.
How do the stewards decide who's at fault? Is it majority rules? Is it 50-50? It's a racing incident. How do they do that sort of thing?
Well, we've got 4 stewards today, so they're a great team of people, and they usually come to the same sort of consensus. So it's the majority of them that makes the final decision. But usually they all come to the same decision anyway. They stick to the rules. All of their decisions are purely based off of fact and the regulations that have been written for the league. So yeah, it's very consistent, and we're lucky to have them.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. What is amazing for Torben Schutt is that he's leading the race with a brand new set of tyres. What is even more amazing for Dylan Hartley is that he's going to get the slipstream all the way down to turn 1.
Yeah, you're right there. Torben Schutt will not have the slipstream into turn 1, so he's going to want to back the pack up as much as possible until the second safety car line. So he's going to have to do all the work. Torben Schutt is a very experienced driver in this league. He knows how to do restarts.
I mean, Ben Mitchell was someone that almost really lost out from that collision with his teammate Josh through the final sector. The safety car lights are out. How many places can Ben Mitchell make on this start? How many places can Joel Foxall make on this start? Can Torben Schutt defend from Dylan Hartley and the Alpine team on this start? Keep your seats in your... That's not the word. Keep your bums in your seats, folks, because this could go any which way. The safety car is in. It's coming into the pits. Torben Schutt, you said, is backing up that pack really well.
Yeah, he's incredibly experienced. Is the Ferrari driver, and is he going to bolt all of a sudden? I think he's gone. Yeah, Torben Schutt's gone quite early, so the slipstream for Dylan and Matt's going to be very powerful.
Torben Schutt does have an incredibly long run all the way down to turn 1, but the advantage of a 6/10 gap between him and Dylan before turn 1 means that the slipstream is pretty much obsolete because the time he gains is not enough. Max Chapman looks to dart around the outside of Dylan Hartley. That's not going to happen. Archie Middelfeld down the inside on Stein Botterweg. It's not going to happen, but Joel manages to get in there, get his nose into this fight, and possibly make a move round the outside of Archie.
Yeah, it was almost an Alpine 2 and 4 there, but Archie not managing to make that stick. But Joel getting incredibly close to the back of the Alpine now. Is he going to dive down the inside late on the brakes going into turn 4? And the Ferrari is through. Nicely done from Joel.
Look at P1 and P2. Sorry, P2 and P3. It's Max Chapman trying to go around the outside of Dylan Hartley. That's incredibly close there, but it keeps it clean. And what a move that is from Max Chapman.
Yeah, nicely done for Max up into P2 past the Alpine. That's one guy out of 2 that he has to get past to get back into P1. But Torben Schutt 1.3 seconds up the road. That was a great restart from him.
Torben Schutt's been issued a 5-second time penalty under the safety car by the game. That's under investigation by the stewards. The Ferrari team have immediately gone to the stewards and say, look at this. This is not fair. And they'll be having a look at that right now. So that's under investigation. Also, car 2, lap 8 incident. That is no investigation necessary. So they will be free of any penalties. Joel Foxall's lost out massively on this restart.
Yeah, you're right. Under the safety car, he lost out quite a bit, not being able to pit, and under the safety car, he's almost 3 seconds adrift of the leader already. So yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, has Joel now.
Dylan Hartley might try to look down the inside there of Max Chapman, but that's not happening. Joel Foxall needs to have a good first sector here in order to catch up. It's the medium tyres. I'm telling you, it's the medium tyres against the softs of those front runners.
Yeah, you're right, and that is where all the interesting stuff will happen. The different cars, faster cars potentially behind on the medium tyres when the soft tyres come to the end of their life. They'll want to be getting past all these front runners.
James Wilson is holding up a queue of about 4 people here. It's Andre Abreu looking to get past Andre Abreu looking to try and get past James. Taylor's trying to get past Andre. All of these drivers have penalties from under the safety car. Surely they will be rebuking that under section 6.5.
Yeah, of course they will. They want to be getting the same treatment that every other driver has, and they have the right to appeal all their penalties. So they certainly will be making the stewards work after the race. But lots of penalties, as you say, so far in the race. Quite a few of them came under the safety car or pit lane speeding infringements.
This is incredibly close through turns 9 to 11. Reggie J. Hargreaves tries to go down the inside, or around the outside, should I say, of Ian Hammoy, and he gets the move done down towards turn 12. That's great, but Ian, they're 3 wide into turn 11. Kevin, Reggie J, and Ian, all 3 of them together. This is like a massive bullfight. They're fighting for P1, but it's for P15.
Yeah, Kevin coming out of nowhere into the stadium section. Nicely done for him up into P15. Obviously, 14 positions off his starting position, but he's trying to claim them back.
Ian's into the pits. I'm not sure what we're going to see sort of strategy-wise here from the Mercedes driver. He's the first of the Mercedes to try and trigger this undercut. He's onto the hard tyres and a new front wing for Ian. So could we see undercuts? Well, could we see this is an undercut? But no, it can't be because he's got the front wing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They must have picked up some damage from fighting with the various people around him, which is a shame. Ian not having the race he would have wanted today. Now 40 seconds adrift.
Dylan Hartley is incredibly close to the rear of Max Chapman, who's incredibly close to Torben Schutt. This could be a 3-way battle for the lead, and Stein Botterweg is behind, trying to get involved in this battle.
Stein is incredibly lucky after that massive incident. He's back up into P4, even ahead of Joel. I mean, this is incredible.
Joel has really lost out to the safety car. I completely agree with you, actually, that going and pitting earlier is just not beneficial for him. But how was he to know? How was he to know?
Yeah. No, there's absolutely no way he would have known that there was a safety car about to come out. It's a shame for Joel, but there's still so much time. We've got a yellow flag. Josh O'Mara potentially in an instant.
Kevin O'Mara through Sector 2. We'll see what's going on. We saw so many drivers getting it wrong here through Sector 2. We're on board with James Wilson, who served the drive-through penalty that last lap. Can we see Kevin anywhere near here? Can we see Kevin?
Might be similar to his teammate.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Oh, it is.
Yeah, very similar.
That's exactly the same place. I don't know if that is a reliability issue, but he's the wrong way around the track. That can't be reliability.
No, I think I saw one of his wheels not attached to the car. So that's a mistake from both Red Bulls today that's potentially cost them a lot of points.
Into turn 1, it's Andre Abreu, Rafael Pio, and Josh O'Mara all going side by side. Who's going to get the toe? Josh O'Mara doesn't have the toe. The drivers behind do, and the DRS are going to dive down the inside. Rafael's late on the brakes, and into turn 4, he's got the move done, but Josh is fighting around the outside. Rafael's got to keep it on the green stuff at least, otherwise it's a penalty. And that's a really good move from Rafael. Josh sticks the nose in where it shouldn't be there. I mean, he is really risking everything for P9 right now.
Incredible racing. I couldn't even see those gaps that they were going for. So that's really good for Josh sticking out in front of Rafael at the moment. They were so close through the double hairpin section as Josh goes a bit wide. I
thought that move was one and done for Rafael, but you're right. Josh managed to stick his nose in a gap that didn't exist. Andre Abreu dives down the inside, but so does Rafael. Rafael's gone incredibly deep, and Andre Abreu is round. Rafael's probably going to have to give that move back to Josh O'Mara by going there deep and keeping that position. Andre Abreu is round, and that surely will be investigated by the stewards.
Yeah, that was probably being investigated, as you say. That move may have been done off the racetrack, and that is obviously not allowed.
Well, Josh may get him down here into turn 1. It doesn't look like he has the DRS, drag reduction system, down here. He's only just opened it. Perhaps a malfunction here for the McLaren driver, only just opening it halfway down.
Doesn't even need it the whole way down the straight. He opened it halfway and still in front at the moment, but this is crucial. By all accounts, apparently, he still has the DRS, so he's managed to pull that off perfectly and still retain the DRS, even though he was ahead of Rafael.
Dylan Hartley is doing an incredible job to stay with Max Chapman and Torben Schutt here through the second sector. Max Chapman cannot close the gap to the Ferrari driver. This is incredible stuff from Charlie.
Yeah, this is very interesting. As we were saying just before, Dylan wasn't able to keep up with the front runners, but that could have been all to do with tyre management, and that could be exactly what we're seeing now. All on soft tyres, pitted at the same time. They can do whatever they want until the rest of the race.
There's 20 laps to go in this race, and tyre management has been thrown around a lot. Is it time that Dylan Hartley or Max Chapman triggers an undercut onto the hard tyres? Will that trigger all of the teams to go, or will Torben Schutt stay out and go long?
Well, Stein is 4.2 seconds off of the leader at the moment, so there's definitely a gap forming between the front three as Dylan goes incredibly late on the brakes into turn 1, gaining so much time, and he will also have the DRS.
Max Chapman gets a move. Yeah, Torben Schutt's gone incredibly wide. Max Chapman's going to get that move. Torben tucks right back in. He's going to be late on the brakes into turn 4, but he doesn't have the move. Max Chapman is now in clean air. Torben Schutt now, I would expect to trigger the undercut. After losing that position, he's got nothing to lose.
Yeah, very rare mistake there from Charlie. Went very, very wide, and Max just completely capitalized on that, and he's gone already. You can just see the pace difference.
Max is back in the game here. Dylan Hartley possibly having a shot now at Torben Schutt in P2. Don't go anywhere, folks, because this lead has changed about 6 times this race.
Yeah, absolutely right. And there's still going to be so many more changes to come. We haven't even entered the strategic phase of the race. As you say, the undercut could be triggered at any time. And yeah, they'll all have to react.
We have a message from the stewards at car 15. Joel Foxall has a warning for track limits, and Rafael Pio also has a warning for track limits.
Yeah, they've got to be keeping an eye on that. Otherwise, they'll be getting the black and white flag and potentially a penalty. And they don't want to be having that on their back at all.
Just look at that. 1:17.1. The clean air of Max Chapman. That's what it was. He was stuck behind Torben Schutt. He couldn't go and be released, but now he is. But Torben Schutt, look at the toe. 5/10 in one corner. Rafael's managed to get past the Alfa Romeo of Reggie J. Hargreaves. Matthew Widdowson's fighting back. Matthew Widdowson's having a go at Reggie J. Hargreaves.
Torben's round. Torben's gone.
Torben's round. Torben's round.
Yeah, he is.
Torben's round in turn 1. That is really not good for the Ferrari driver. He has to undercut now. There's no way he can't go on without undercutting.
Absolutely right, and both Ferraris today being involved in unnecessary collisions, and yet that's such a shame for Torben. He spun round coming out of turn 3, very similar to his teammate.
I think Dylan may have been involved in the incident as well, because he's dropped back by about 4/10 there, maybe having to lift because of the yellow flag, or maybe getting in the way of that collision. 1.5 seconds it is for Dylan, and Stein's back up into the podium places.
Unbelievable. How is he managed that big off that he had coming into the pits, and then the safety car just really helping him. So he's had the race of his life so far.
We're on board with Ben Mitchell, who's chasing down Archie Middelfeld. Talk us through his lap.
Ben Mitchell up in P7. They're getting incredibly close. The Alpine and McLaren looking great out there on the Mexican circuit, but this is the prime opportunity now for Ben going into turn 1 with that massive run all the way down, DRS halfway down the straight as well, and the slipstream. There's he lost a little bit of time there coming out of the final corner, did Ben, but this slipstream going to be incredibly powerful. He's got 80% ERS charged up in his Mercedes engine. Is this going to be enough for Ben there? He's gaining all the way down the straight, so close. Not enough that time for Ben.
I mean, he's tried to stick it around the outside there, which is really smart. Opening up this corner now. Archie doesn't get a great exit. Ben gets a better exit there. But Ben going wide and having to lift off. But he's got the DRS now towards turn 4. Archie's going to be in front by the end of the corner. But it's all about how much pressure Ben puts on Archie. And if he's ruining Archie's tyres, that's absolutely mega for Ben.
Yeah, exactly. And Archie, 20% ERS versus Ben's 100% ERS. So Archie is having to defend massively against this McLaren.
Ian Hammore's managed to get past Rafael Pio back down there in P14. Ian possibly with some side pod damage from that turn 2 incident, not being able to get a really good race so far from the Mercedes driver, whilst his teammates up there creating a 2-second lead from Dylan Hartley.
Yeah, there's quite a contrast there between the 2 Mercedes drivers, but Ian's been caught up in so many incidents today. He's had to replace his front wing quite a few times, if I remember correctly. So down in P14, real shame. Joel up into P3.
Yeah, Joel's got past Stein there, down through
Stein's
turn 1. Stein is in the pits to serve a penalty, I think this may be. That's really bad for Stein, because if he did get overturned, then he's lost the time on track position. It's mediums going on for the Alfa Romeo driver.
Yeah, now Joel back up into the podium positions. No doubt that will be incredibly motivational for him.
Ben's past Archie into turn 1. We said it, with the ERS and the DRS. Ben's going to have the DRS down here as well. And look, he's already created a 4/10 gap to Archie.
Yeah, these drivers are timing this impeccably with that DRS, and Ben, as you say, getting that DRS versus Archie, not even though he's behind the McLaren.
The McLaren driver of Josh O'Mara also getting past his old teammate Adam Forbes, now in that Haas team, is doing pretty well for himself today, Adam, in the points. It was a very rare occasion last year that Adam would be in those points positions, but today he's drove pretty well.
Yeah, very nicely done for Adam in that new team, as you say, settling in well by the looks of it. And once again, Josh and Adam fighting.
Well, I tell you what, this could trigger the undercut. Stein up there in P3 he was. Now he's down back in P9. Could that be net P1? Do Max and Dylan have to come into the pits? They don't this lap. What does that mean for the lead of this race?
Well, Stein, obviously, he had to take that penalty, so almost cancelling out the undercut quite quite massively unless they have a horrific pit stop. So Max and Dylan still sitting quite comfortably at the moment. No threat of an undercut from any other drivers but themselves at the moment.
Joel Foxall, he's losing a bit of time. He's 9 seconds behind the Alpine driver of Dylan Hartley. Torben Schutt is actually gaining on his teammate. Could this be, once again, more damage for the Ferrari team?
Potentially. I mean, yeah, the two teammates obviously going to be wanting to keep the same position. I know they're very tactically minded, are the Ferrari boys, so they will be thinking about the long run. And if they think it's necessary, they probably will swap the positions.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, it makes sense for them to try and harvest off of each other. Oh, that was very close to track limits there for Archie Middlefeld there, but he's right back on the tail of Ben Mitchell.
Yeah, this battle going all the way throughout the race, no doubt. But Ben's still around 65% on his ERS versus Archie's 30%. Not very close at all.
I mean, Archie right now is the only person on track who is within a second of the driver in front, apart from Reggie J. Hargreaves. So Andre Abreu, who's managed to get past Rafael back there in P14. Archie has the most opportunistic move on the track, ready for him into turn 1.
Dylan's into the pits. The undercut has been triggered.
And Max as well. Both the drivers into the pits. Joel is P1.
Interesting.
Torben Schutt is P2. Could this be where Joel pitting early really comes into his hands?
Very interesting. They decided to pit at the same time, cancelling out any risk of that undercut. So Max still ahead of the Alpine driver. But interestingly enough, he's behind Dylan's teammate. Will Archie hold him up?
Wow, this is absolutely incredible. The Mercedes pit wall haven't done their job. They put them into the pit window, or sorry, they put them into the release window of Archie Middlefeld, who has the DRS of Ben Mitchell. So Ben Mitchell's into the podium places. Archie Middlefeld's blocking Max, and his teammate behind him has fresher tyres. He's holding him up.
Well, this is so interesting. Max about to make a move on Archie, however, and going down the inside did Max, and he's got that done by the looks of it. But that could have been so strategically important for the Alpine boys.
That was such a massive schoolboy error from Archie Middlefeld. He left the gate massively open there through turn 6 and just allowed Max to not even be late on the brakes, just slot into the gap that existed for him and given by him. Now we're going to see team orders. Is Dylan going to be let pass by his teammate down the straight? I would have anticipated that to be the case, but it's not. They're holding each other up.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Obviously, Dylan on the fresh set of medium tyres. They don't want to be messing around at all. Archie needs to let him out the way as soon as possible.
Ben now in the final podium position. He has pitted, I think, so far. Max Chapman behind him is going to have the toe down to turn 1 and absolutely undoubtedly be ahead into turn 1. Look at this camera shot.
Incredibly easy for Max was that one. Probably the easiest overtake he's done so far.
The drivers have also reversed, the Alpine drivers have also reversed their positions into turn 1, but Archie not putting up any fight, but keeping as close as he can to his teammate.
Yeah, makes sense. Now Archie will get that DRS as well coming up this straight, so he'll be able to get dragged along by both his teammate and the McLaren that he's fighting.
Look at that rear wing there. No damage to the Alpine car of Archie Middlefeld, possibly damage to Joel Foxall, who is currently 9 seconds in the lead from Max Chapman. So Max really now needs to capitalise on having the clean air of Torben Schutt. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. I'm not too sure what that is, but that could be a safety car, and that's
Imagine if there's a safety car.
Yeah, that's not what Joel wants right now.
Well, Joel would love that, no? He could come into the pit under the safety car, lose so much less time than all the people around him, sort of reversing the mistake that he had earlier.
I mean, arguably, that's the case, but then that would give the track position to Max Chapman.
Yeah, you're right, and Max is a beast. He's hard to pass, but this is all the mistakes. Sorry, this is everything that's going around Joel's mind and his teams at the moment. They're probably praying for a safety car or some form of incident where he can quickly pit as his teammates back in the pits.
Oh, a huge snap of oversteer there from Dylan Hartley. Yeah, Torben Schutt into the pits, possibly to serve the 5-second time penalty, possibly noted by the stewards that that's going to stick. Dylan Hartley had a massive snap of oversteer there through the final turn, but he's made it quite easily past Ben Mitchell. Ben has all of that ERS, though. He could come back at him down towards turn 4.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Dylan looking good. Back up into P3, only 10 seconds off the leader and 2 seconds off of Max Chapman.
Another yellow flag in Sector 2. Who is this? None of the leaders there. Rafael is round, so that could possibly be bad for Joel Foxall having to lift. But Joel's got a 9-second gap to Max Chapman. This is great for Joel.
Yeah, now his teammate's out of the way. That 9-second gap between him and Max could be beneficial. They both got clean air, however, and we know how quick Max is in that clean air.
There's that yellow flag. Max Chapman, Joel Foxall is into these yellow flag zones. Is he going to get held up by these back markers who are going to be blue flagged through through turn 16, 17, and now down towards the start-finish straight.
Now, Joe will be crying out for these lap cars to get out the way as soon as possible. Joel in the pits.
Joel's into the pits now. This is going to be a good stop. We're on board with Joel. Max will get into the lead. Dylan will take P2. And Ben P3. Rafael's come into the pits and retired the car by the looks of it for that Haas team. Joel needs a good stop. It's the soft tyres going on to the end of the race. It's going to be an 11-lap sprint here for Joel Fuxell in the Ferrari team as the Haas of Rafael Pio has come into the pits to retire the car.
Yeah, that's incredible from Joel going back onto those soft tyres. He knows what he has to do to win this race or even come close to the podium. He's got to get on those soft tyres, maximum pace to the end now.
Well, I tell you what, it's Dylan and Archie, both the Alpine boys. This could be incredible for the championship. They're fighting for P3 like they did last year with Renault. Renault actually just missed P3 by about 40 points last year, giving it to the McLaren, sorry, not to the McLaren, to the Ferrari boys. So it is really, really important for this championship that Dylan and Archie both get high point scorings and definitely a podium for one of them at least.
Yeah, you're right, and they know how fierce Max is. He pretty much carried his team last year to the Constructors' Championship all by himself, so they need as many points as possible to compete against him.
Ian is actually on the cusp of the points positions here. That's really, really good for the Mercedes driver. He's getting followed by Matthew Widdowson, who looks like he wants that position on the newer, softer tyres. Ian on the hards going to the end, undoubtedly.
Yeah, would never have predicted of Ian to be so close to the points at the moment, only a few seconds off at the moment, and they're fighting ahead of him, so it could come towards him, and yeah, could points potentially be on the cards today.
All of the time penalties have been served. If Torben Schutt's time penalty does get overturned, he will be in front of Josh O'Mara on track. Stein Botterweg is being undertaken here by Joel Fuxell, who's glitching all over the track on the softer tyres. That's an easy move for Joel. He's got 4 seconds to gain to be back online with Archie.
Joel's looking very, very quick out there. He's got that DRS as well, so that's going to be helping him all the way up into turn 4. Joel, this could be still on for Joel, you know.
What, to win?
Never say never. I don't know. Who knows?
I mean, yeah, you're completely right. Ferrari last year impressed so many times. If you look back to Spa, final turn of the final lap.
Yeah.
That was a winning move there on the final turn. Austria, final lap, turn 3. They won it there. Ferrari are really, really good at capitalizing on the mistakes, not only of Max Chapman, but of the rest of the grid. Joel is glitching all over the place, though. Could that be really bad for, well, if he comes wheel to wheel with another driver?
Yeah, exactly. You want the most stable connection as possible for wheel-to-wheel racing. He's so close to the back of Archie already, though. Joe, I mean, he's got some incredible pace on these soft tyres.
This was an incredibly smart decision there from Joel Fuxell. Archie comes into the pits, possibly to do the same. A fastest lap for Joel, proving how quick these tyres. He's got the DRS of Archie, who came into the pits as well. So he's got clean air, DRS, ERS, new tyres. He's chasing Dylan Hartley 3 seconds to Archie Middelfeld's teammate. That was not the move that Archie probably should have done to protect his teammate's P2.
No, that was incredibly fortuitous for the Ferrari driver being able to get that DRS off of the pitting car. And he's got the DRS once again. I'm not even sure how he's doing this.
It's DRS, same detection zone for the second DRS zone.
Right. That makes complete sense now. So he got double DRS off of Dylan's teammate. He will not be happy with that.
Stein Botterweg, again, without the penalty this time because he served it under the safety car. Stein Botterweg, very much on the cusp of a podium position.
Yeah, so close now up in P4. Not too far behind Joel as well, and he can just sit behind the Ferrari, get that DRS off of him, and yeah, just sit behind, stay cozy, and potentially, as you say, podium on the cards.
Joel there lapping Reggie J. Hargreaves. Hargreaves making it difficult for him, getting out of the way, but making it difficult through turn 11.
Yeah, of course, don't want to be making it too easy, I guess, if you're a lap car. I'm not sure why he's done that, but that's one of the trickiest places to overtake a lap car because it's all about downforce through that section and not easy to overtake.
Remember that Joel does have a track limits warning. He's got one more left and then it's a penalty, so Joel is going to have to be bearing that in mind. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. This is absolutely crucial. This is mega for Joel because the drivers in front of him will have to slow down as I think that might be Matthew Widdowson or James Wilson there in the AlphaTauri is slow through Sector 1.
Yeah, there was definitely a mistake there from one of the AlphaTauris. Not too sure which one it was, but yeah, as you say, his rivals having to go through that yellow flag zone at a slower speed. and him not having to. So that was good news for him once again. It's all playing into his hands.
It's about 6 seconds between Dylan and Joel here as Dylan gets past, I think that is James Wilson there. There's another yellow flag in Sector 2. As, oh my god, that's a huge snap of oversteer there for James Wilson coming through the X's. That's massive. He was off the track for some portion of time there. Those soft tyres are one, but I'm telling you what, Sam, I can't keep up this year. I'm struggling to keep up because of how much action there is.
Yeah, so much happening as Joel was catching the Alpha Tower in the stadium section. He knows he wants to get onto the back of him to get that DRS all the way down the straight, getting that extra horsepower, sorry, that extra speed going into turn 1. So he'll be fighting for that all the way.
Well, I tell you what, that's something Dylan definitely won't have. He's 3 seconds behind Max Chapman, but neither does Joel. Joel does not have the DRS coming down here, but he's got the slipstream.
Yeah, obviously that slipstream is as crucial as the DRS, so at least he got one of them.
Yeah, there's 6 laps to go after this lap. Who will be victorious? Max is pulling out a lead slowly and slowly, lap by lap, but he's approaching lapped cars. I think that may be one of the Williams, possibly Taylor Hume.
Yeah, one of the best opportunities now for Dylan to get the lead back from Max is under the traffic. There's potential for a mistake from Max trying to overtake these lap cars.
I mean, this is lap 29. Do drivers have to possibly think about fuel consumption? You talked about tyre wear. Max is on the new medium tyres, so he won't have to worry about that. Fuel consumption, is that going to come into this towards the end of the race?
Potentially. It depends how much they've been saving through the race. They obviously had that safety car period as well, so they may have been doing it under that period. But yeah, absolutely. That could be on their minds as well.
Dylan Hartley's dropping Max significantly there. His tyres have dropped off compared to Max's, and that gifts Joel an absolutely incredible window. He's gained about a second on the last lap, but Joel needs to make sure his tyres also go to the end.
Yeah, you're right. And Joel, obviously on those softer tyres, so he needs to make sure that they're going to make it to the end, as you say. So yeah, that's going to be on his mind as well, managing every single thing, ERS, fuel, and the tyres. So much going through their minds.
If we look towards the midfield, Ben Mitchell have pulled about a 3-second gap to Archie Middlefeld, so pretty decent recovery there from Ben after being involved in those lap 1 collisions.
Yeah, very nicely done from Ben. Shows some real class today, I believe. And that wheel-to-wheel racing between him and Archie. Yeah, incredible stuff.
Tell you what, something that's impressing me today is the battle between the 2 former McLaren teammates, Josh O'Mara and Adam Forbes, through the final sector. It is really, really tight for both of these, if you want to go and talk about Josh's lap.
Yeah, incredibly tight between the two, as you say. I'm not sure if Josh is experiencing some connection issues at the moment, because as you can see, he's really not up to pace at the moment. Adam sort of flown past him, but yeah, Josh and Adam, as we say, they fought before as teammates, and still, even in different teams, they're still fighting each other. So yeah, it's still good to see some old rivalries.
We've had 5 retirements from this race so far. Both of them, both of the Red Bulls retiring from the race. That's not what they wanted, considering their absolutely impeccable qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. And considering Kevin was on pole position, and he's where has he gone? Obviously retiring from the race in the end, but that start was not up to scratch at all. I'm hearing that he was on a more wet preferred setup, so that may have been really hampering him.
We're on board with Joel. Joel is about 2 tenths from Dylan Hartley. Dylan protects the inside. Joel is going to stick it around the outside. They get so close. And do they touch? No, they don't. That's incredible racing there between them two. Joel gets the move, and they do touch there. Touch through turn 3. Dylan tries to stick his nose in through turn 3, and he's spun round that gift Stein Botterweg. P3 if Dylan can't get back onto the track in time.
Dylan looks like he's getting back up to speed now, but yeah, Dylan very, very risky going into the last of that section of corners, turn 3, and it not sticking out for him. Joel up into P2 confidently now.
5 seconds. Can he gain that in 5 laps? That's a second a lap he's got to do.
Second a lap, and also having to overtake Max. That's a big ask for Joel, but you know, it's a new season. Joel, anything can happen, as I said earlier. So all eyes now on Joel and all the way to the end of the race.
All of these overtakes have either been happening through Sector 3 or in Turn 1. It's so impossible to overtake through Sector 2, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about downforce during that Sector 2 and incredibly tricky corners for the drivers. They can't even consider overtaking through there.
Matthew Widdowson through the Turn 1, 2, 3 complex has got an incredible run on Josh O'Mara, and that'll be the 2nd points position there as Josh squeezes onto the grass. That's incredibly talented from Matthew Widdowson to keep that car under control, but Josh O'Mara begging on the edge. That was like Charles Leclerc, Italy in 2019, like pushing him right to the edge.
Yeah, nicely done from Matthew to be able to get through that as well. And now he's a decent amount ahead of the McLaren up into P9. 2 points. You know, every point counts to the championship, and that's a good first race so far for Matthew.
This is hard racing between Josh and Matt, and Josh has already lost about 2 seconds between Matt and himself. So possibly, like you said, that might not have been Josh and maybe AI. So maybe a bit of leniency there for that hard racing. But Adam Forbes in the 3rd points position, he'll be getting 3 points as it is, I believe. Or 4 points, sorry, as it is at the moment, and that's pretty much more than he got last season.
Yeah, you're right. And Joel now only 4 seconds behind that of Max Chapman. Going into turn 7, he could see the Mercedes driver. Going into the stadium section, he can still see the Mercedes driver. So it's all on for Joel potentially.
Well, I tell you what, this is absolutely mega for the championship. We've got Archie Middlefell and Dylan Hartley separated by 4 positions. We've got the Ferrari separated by 3 positions. So I mean, at the moment, Ferrari would come out constructors winners.
Yeah, you're right. The Ferrari is being consistent today, but obviously Max in potentially at the moment, obviously still in the lead. But yeah, his teammate down in P12 not scoring any points, but both Ferraris, P2 and P5, looking good for them.
Incident between Joel and Dylan. We've had a message from the stewards that turn 3 incident will be investigated after the race. So I tell you what, Verstappen had his win taken from him back in 2018, I think it was, after a incident that was reviewed after the race. If Joel does catch up to Max, he could have that taken from him as well. But I don't know, what's your 2 cents on it? Dylan tried to stick his nose in, but should Joel have left more room?
Well, I was riding on board with Joel, and he was pushed right up against the curb by all my accords. So it didn't look like Joel was he didn't make any aggressive maneuvers over to the right. Dylan obviously tried it. He had every right to if he wanted to, but yeah, it didn't look like anything from Joel's side. In fact, it looked like he got the move completely done, and it was quite a shock to see Dylan on the inside from his point of view.
Well, that's just Formula 1 risk-reward, isn't it? You have to go for the gap that exists. Ayrton Senna said it back in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. And Dylan went for it. You know, that was for P2, big points up for grab, as well as obviously a higher podium position. So it probably was worth the risk. But yeah, probably wouldn't have been expected to be round.
I mean, Max Chapman has lost about 5/10s there through 1 turn, so either an incredible final sector for Joel or a bad one for Max.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, really. Joel obviously pushing to the absolute max, only very, very low on the ERS at the moment, however, for him. So he's using as much of that as possible to get that time back from Max. But Max in clean air, we know how good he is. He's on those medium tyres. It's Joel, big snap of oversteer coming out of turn 3.
Yeah, we talked about this, that Joel needs to conserve his tyres to go to the end. Right now, 4 seconds, that was the same gap it was on lap 30. Joel needs to either go to the end of this race or push the absolute maximum. What do you think?
Well, obviously, as a racing driver, he'll want to go all the way to the end, potentially for the win. But, you know, P2 is still a very, very good position. He started P2 and he'll end P2 as it stands at the moment. Obviously, getting caught up with Max in the first few laps. It's not a bad recovery drive whatsoever.
Torben Schutt is stuck in a lap of traffic here. He's got 3 lapped drivers in front of him. Taylor Hume, I think that may be Reggie J. Hargreaves, and one of the Alpha Tauri. So look at this. He's just stuck behind him. He can't get anywhere. He can't get anywhere because these drivers, James Wilson is actually on AI, so that's going to hold them up even more as there's almost a collision there. And an incredible move to lap Taylor Hume once again. Round the outside is going to be there. A tyre performance from Torben Schutt. Look at that. 31% on that front left, and Ben Mitchell, 37%. I didn't know that was in the game.
I did not know that was in the game either. That's impressive stuff from the game.
I didn't even know that was a thing. Who needs graphics? We've got the game. Torben Schutt is 3 seconds behind Stein Botterweg. What is going to happen? Look at the internet. What's happening?
Yeah, it's all over the place. And as we said earlier, it's all about wheel-to-wheel racing to try and get these last few positions, and he needs the best connection possible. Obviously, completely out of his control, but Torben Schutt in P5, still 2 positions up on his qualifying position after he was so unfortunately disqualified by the game.
Oh my god, look at this! Ian Hamill's holding up his teammate. Joel Foxall is only 2 seconds behind. But the problem is, right, the AWS thing has gone and ruined the thing. So we don't know the time between Joel Foxall and Max Chapman. Do you have any information on that, Sam?
It's done the same thing for me. I cannot see the gaps between each other, but Joel using all of the slipstream possible from Max's teammate all the way into the stadium section. He's pushing as much as he possibly can. He wants this win so badly.
It only looks like a couple seconds. I could tell you how far it is, but I actually can't right now. Dylan still in P3, Stein and Torben Schutt incredibly close together as Stein has to lap Josh O'Mara, I think that may be, but that's given Torben Schutt an absolute gift. It's 8/10 between Torben Schutt and Stein Botterweg.
Well, that's incredibly close. It's still on for one of Charlie's famous last lap overtakes for P4. So it's all on for Charlie, especially going into turn 1. He'll have the DRS, he'll have the slipstream. It's all for playing now for P4.
Yeah, I mean, AWS decided to get its arse back in gear and tells us the gap is 3 seconds. So it was an entire second that that Ian lost behind Max. This is going to be an easy overtake for Charlie. Oh, that's Stein thought about going to the inside, didn't go to the inside, and sticks it around the inside. Sticks it around the outside. That's incredible racing to keep it around the outside from Stein. How many times are going to say inside, outside, inside, outside? He's got the move. He's got the move done, but the DRS is just going to be so powerful. I think it would have been better for Stein to stay behind and get the DRS, but he's broken on it again. He stuck it down the inside. Again, I'm saying inside, outside. I don't know what's going on. Stein and Torben Schutt with a massive battle on this final lap. They know it's all to play for this 4th position. I think that's 12 points 4th.
Yeah, very fierce fighting between the two, but nicely done as Max runs the final corner.
Max is coming through turn 17. It's been dominant, but it's been close. I tell you what, Max Chapman wins the inaugural F1, but Max is behind Joel. Right, okay. Let's not take that for granted. I think Max has won the race there and won the first ever Kenco F1 2021 season race. Is Joel coming back behind him in P2? Dylan Hartley across the line, finishing the podium, and Torben Schutt with that final lap move puts himself P4 with Stein behind in P5. It's respectable points for Ben Mitchell in P6. Archie Middlefeld really doing himself over with that race, but he tries to go to the line. Doing himself over there, I think, with that pit stop to go onto the softs at the end, trying to mimic what Joel Foxhall did, but doesn't have the pace. We've still got Adam Forbes here, cannot finish outside the points. That's a point finish there for Adam Forbes. Absolutely amazing from the Haas driver.
Yeah, great first race for Adam. That will boost his confidence going into the season. Nicely done in his new team, picking up a decent haul of points.
Yeah, I mean, what a race it was. I mean, Jay says the Joel's won. I don't think Joel's won.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
We'll speak to the
I
stewards.
can't see any penalties.
I didn't see a penalty either. This happened back in Italy last year when Joel was robbed of his P2 by Max, actually. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, incredible race there from all parties involved. Well done to Max on the win, and well done to Joel for that P2 recovery.
Make it, do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger. More than power, never. Ever after work is over. Make it, do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger. More than ever, hour after hour, work is never over. Faster,
No, it was nothing to do with the Red Bull power unit. So I'm actually quite disappointed in that race. Um, it just there was some drivers at the start, turn one, that just tried to go for moves that clearly weren't possible at the circumstances, and spun me out first turn, got some side pod damage, and didn't end well. So I'm not too sure. Yeah, so we had a start. Obviously, it was a pretty slow start compared to your drivers on track because we obviously are running the wet setup from qualifying on Friday. So we did lose. I think it was 2 places. I think we dropped down to P3, going into turn one, and then as I turned into turn one, I got. I think I'm pretty sure I got rear-ended by one of the drivers. I felt a little punt. I'm not too sure. It could have been my. It could have just been the car. I'm not too sure. But as I turned in to hit the apex, there was a car trying to go up the inside of me, and kind of spun me out. But I saved it. It wasn't too much of an issue, to be honest. It was just a little collision, but it didn't cause any issues. So yeah.
How do you think your race could have gone a bit better then? Was it because of that collision that you went off, or?
It definitely wasn't that collision that I went off. No, that was just one of the issues. The collision was completely my fault. It was going through the S's, turn 11, I think it was. We were going through, and I got some dirty air off the car in front, and I spun. That was completely my fault, though. It was 100%. But better luck next time. Hopefully, I was hoping for a better result today. Unfortunately, with Jay as well, we just couldn't pull anything out. So yeah.
Today, how do you feel that your teammate could have done? But he also, I mean, that looked like a reliability issue. Just pulled over to the side of the track.
Yeah. So Jay had some severe damage. I think he pretty sure he got side pad damage coming out of turn three. I'm pretty sure it was. I haven't really spoken to him much since the race, so if you want any information on him, it probably have to be off him himself. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he got some side pad damage after he spun out of turn three.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin.
Yeah, no problem.
Sam, if you want to go ahead and interview Adam.
Yeah, certainly, Adam. Very
Hello.
nice job in your new team, getting a good haul
Yeah.
of points. How did that feel?
Can't believe it. It's like Josh disconnected. I'm not sure if you seen it on the stream, but
Yeah,
yeah, that's what got us the 4 points, I think.
yeah, very nicely done. Do you think you'll be able to continue that on throughout the season?
I hope so. Really hope so. I think
Yeah.
Raphael could get some good points for us as well.
Yeah, that's good. Do you think you feel more comfortable in your new team? Being able to score points so quickly is obviously really impressive.
Yeah, it's really good. I didn't expect to be able to do this at all from P16
Yeah,
at all.
and going into the next race, how do you feel confident? How confident do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty good around France.
Yeah.
Probably just jinxed myself.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
brilliant effort today. Good job, and yeah, good luck in France. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Adam. If
Thanks,
I could just add something. How do you feel that as a constructor, Haas can push through the midfield? I mean, last year you and Josh ended at the back of the field, unfortunately. Are you aiming to try and get up there with the likes of the Alpines or also the Alpha Tauris, those kind of guys?
I hope so. To be honest, I think Raphael could play a good point in this as well.
Well, thank you for.
He-
Oh, go ahead.
I think Raphael was involved in a bit of a crash, otherwise he would have got points as well.
Right. Okay. Well done to both of you guys, and well done to the Haas team today.
Thanks. Thanks.
So, ladies and gentlemen, just a couple minutes. We're going to get some ceremonies going underway. It was, in fact, Max who won the race, so we can say that now. Well done to Max Chapman there for winning the race, the first ever Kenco F1 2021 race for him. We'll try and get them into the chat in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, your podium contenders. In P3, it is Dylan Hartley. Dylan's first podium of the year is P3 for him. Well done to the Alpine driver.
Thank you.
In P2, the Ferrari driver, Joel Foxall. So close at the end. 4 seconds off. So close to the end. Well done, Joel Foxall.
Cheers, boys.
And once again, claiming the crown, the absolute driver, the absolute unit, the undefeated so far, Max Chapman of the Mercedes team, pushing them to victory.
Thank you, thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Please, can you take a moment for the national anthems? From the and puts a lot. Congratulations to the 3 drivers, to Max Chapman, to Joel Foxall, and to Dylan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the champagne!